Welcome. Gio and I are here today with Jackie. And Jackie, you're somewhat new to the co-working industry. You are a marketer, have been a marketer for a long, long time in different industries. You've been with us since 2024, so fairly new, but you dove right in. You worked with Pacific Workplaces for a couple of years as their chief marketing officer, and now you're working with blank spaces and ThinkSpace. And I assume you have other things that you're up to as well. Tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, thank you. It's great to be here, Jamie Gio. Thanks for having me. So yeah, I've been in co-working for about 2.5 years now. And actually, I had a very small stint, and you guys will laugh at this. I was 21 years old and I was working at Barrister Executive Suites in Bel Air in Southern California.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I was a receptionist. So
Oh, that is so fun. They've been around. Geo might know, or maybe you know. How long do you think? Decades.
A
forever.
long
Yeah.
time.
I
The
mean, at least as long
1980,
as Pack. I mean, Pack has
yeah.
an incredible tenure as well, which was an amazing brand for you to, yeah, kind of sink your teeth into. Barrister, I wonder if they've been around for longer. Interesting. Okay, that's a very fun fact.
Yeah, yeah, it was so much fun. I was 21 years old. I was just, really like hungry, wanted a job that would keep me busy, and boy, did it. Like we were answering phones for probably we had 2 floors in that building, so it was probably like 80 offices. So all those members on site, and then I think we had 100 VOs. And I remember I had 6 phone lines, and when we would get the
You
rush,
answered the phones.
I answered the phone. I was the receptionist. I was right there yeah, right there in the trenches. And I remember we had 6 phone lines and they would light up all at once. And I'd just be like, boom, 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 putting people on hold. I was so lucky because I had the most incredible manager at that location. And she basically kind of gave me a little taste of like showing offices and the P&L and the operations and all that stuff. So when I found the posting for the job for PAC, I spoke with Laurent and he said, "Why do you want to work in co-working?" And I was like, "Well, I actually have before, like randomly enough." And, Scott has all those connections with
Totally.
like he pretty much knows everybody over there. When he started naming names, I was like, "Oh yeah, I remember them." Like they probably don't remember me. I was basically a nobody. But it was really fun and I was really happy to come back to co-working. I had no idea how great this industry was until I started getting into it. Prior to co-working, I was working in logistics and talk about two polar opposite industries. Logistics is, very competitive, very saturated. People are really protective of their IP, of their data, of what they're doing. And co-working is the opposite, like Laurent and Scott have always had like sung the tune of like, oh, these are our friends in the industry. Like we want to see everybody succeed and be successful. And I went to my first Juicy only 2 weeks on the job. And I think I met both of you there. It was the one in Salt Lake City. And I just remember being like,
When
wow,
Laurent dragged us to that like 10 p.m. dinner, and like, and you ended up there too. I'm like a
right.
total grandma. I like to eat at 5:30, and Laurent's like, "No, we're going to dinner at
Oh,
10 or
yeah.
whatever time it was." That's funny.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The late night. Yep. And yeah, I was just so impressed and just felt so welcomed and at home immediately because it's so true. I just met with an operator yesterday who's out in Denver, their clubhouse work and golf. And he's new to the industry too. They launched
Josh
December.
went through my startup school. He will be on the podcast
Oh
next
yeah.
week. Yeah.
He mentioned that. Yes, and it was actually Joe, his partner.
Okay.
And they mentioned they took your school and they absolutely loved it. And I told them I was doing
And
this
I
podcast with
got to
you.
visit their space too. I was like, Miranda, they
Okay.
need to be on the tour list for the conference. Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
I think they've done so well. But anyway, we will not go into that
yeah,
sidebar.
yeah. But but anyway, Joe had the exact same thing to say. He was like, "This is such a relationships, industry," and it's just he came from software, and I was like, "Yeah, I." That's why I've stayed, and I've really liked it. Like doing marketing is absolutely my passion, but I've been so lucky to have been a part of PAC and be educated and mentored by Laurent and Scott, who are just industry veterans. They're legends, right?
Yeah.
And, now I'm working with 2 other legacy operators. Peter opened his operations in Seattle in 2008, and then Jerome opened his in LA also in 2008. So I feel like I'm just still learning. I'm, getting to know everybody, but it's really fun to be able to see and make a real impact, through the
Yeah.
marketing, through the sales because our industry is so small and it's still growing. And it's exciting to see, even just the last 2 years, the huge changes that we've had.
Yeah. We have to give a shout out to Scott and Laurent because I think maybe of anyone in the industry, those two are like, you want to see the P&L? I'll show you my P&L. They're
Yeah.
so
Yes.
like, what would you like to know? I will tell you, which is totally incredible. I mean, I agree. Like most people are like that in the industry, which is unusual, and they just like take it to another level.
Yeah,
Yeah,
100%.
a great place for you to start for sure.
Yes, I was very lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, but before that, I worked in hospitality for about 10 years. So I was actually in the golf industry. I worked at a club here in Montreux. I became the director of sales and marketing when I was like 27. And that was really exciting for me. I got to, meet these people who were coming to this neighborhood and they knew nobody. So it really became a relationship business
Mhm.
for me and making sure that they could find a home here and meet the people that they wanted to be with. And I think that education really has bled over into what I'm doing with co-working and seeing because doing marketing, you're behind the scenes so much, you're really not interacting with the members. You're, not really seeing what the location managers are doing on a day-to-day basis. So having that deep understanding of how important relationships are in what we're doing in these spaces, building communities, and even just the relationships with other operators is just so vital and important. And it's truly what I see like separates us from like any other hospitality industry out there.
Yeah. Okay, Gio went to check on his
Oh,
something.
the gas line.
Totally. Okay, while he's gone, let's promo our he's back. Gio,
Sorry,
we were
trying to figure out what's going on with
what's going
the
on?
it's crazy.
Yeah.
But no, super excited to have you join us for the conference, right? And I know
We
Jamie
we were
kind of
just gonna promo that. We haven't
I
done
know,
much
I know,
promoting.
I caught
Yeah.
you.
Okay. Wait, we have a
So
question first. Are our panels like are
Yeah.
they what's the word? Are they official?
yeah, so we might still add a couple of speakers, but the agenda is pretty much official at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
And so
But we
we
can
are
say
taking
who's on our panels. Is that
for
like
sure,
okay,
for sure,
great. It's not on the
absolutely.
website yet. So this is
Well, yours is finalized, and
Yes.
Jackie, we're trying to we got one more spot that we're trying to
Still
figure
working
out.
on it.
But
okay.
so overall, typically we do an operator track and a owner track. And this year, what we decided is AI is such a major part of everything going on, but I didn't want to make it an AI conference, right? And so what we're doing is we're doing an AI track and an operator track. And so there is a counter. Basically, every breakout session is gonna people have the option to go see and listen to an AI panel, or they can just go to a typical operator panel. And so we're kicking off with Scott Homa has decided to come back. I was able to
Okay, I
coerce
saw
him to come
that,
back.
and that's so exciting. I literally
Yeah,
was looking at the agenda yesterday, and I was like, "Oh my god, Scott Home is coming. That's
so
fabulous."
Scott and Will Sanford with Yardi are going to go back and forth on their data and kind of what JLL versus Yardi have. And then we've got the first keynote is actually he does a bunch of AI enterprise stuff. So really excited about that. And then we'll break out into breakout sessions. And so, yours is we love doing the KPI session. So you've got a bunch of
Scott Chambers is on my panel,
yeah,
Oh,
and Flip
great.
Howard and Willie Gutierrez, an all-star KPI panel. I'm so excited.
yeah.
Full of people who
So
will tell you anything
Awesome.
you wanna know. So, if you have not gotten a ticket yet, come. It's Tuesday the 1st, right? September 1st is the welcome event, and then content all day Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday tours. So,
yeah.
yeah, I can't wait. I booked my flight yesterday. Also, pro tip, flights will get more expensive. They're very affordable right now, so get in there and get it booked.
And get your hotel because the 11th is the last day we have to book there at the
Yeah.
Sheraton. So if you
Okay.
want to stay there.
Yeah, mine. Well, you
And
need
then
them
with
to stay
Jack,
there. I'm just gonna say this is how the model works. Please stay at the Sheraton. We need you to fill the room nights. Don't you need room nights?
we do. We do. We're
Okay.
getting there.
Okay.
We were smart enough to negotiate a lower number. But I mean, the
Okay.
reason we went back to hotels or a hotel is because everyone talked about how much they enjoyed being able to interact
Yeah, be in the
every
same.
evening rather
Yeah.
than,
Exactly.
leaving the venue and then figuring all that out. So,
Yeah. Too much
uh,
coordination. One
yeah.
bar, one location. Keep it
Yeah.
easy. Okay.
And then to Jackie, I mean, I reached out to Jackie because I mean, I heard about the big move, and she's always been on top of the marketing stuff so much, and everything that really wanted her to be there. And so thank you for agreeing to come. I know you've got a crazy schedule, and you were already traveling a few days before for the operator weekend that you're doing. And so,
Oh, that's right. I totally forgot about
yeah.
that. Yeah. Could we spread those out next year while I have you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, we're the next year we'll have February and GWA dates kind of jump around, so we'll spread it out a little better for sure. Cause I think, yeah, we kind of noticed that too. People had to kind of pick between the two for some of them.
Should be like some collab around who's doing what location, what time, so that they don't interfere. Because I love the format that you're doing, but it's a bummer
Oh,
that it's so close. Yeah. So awesome. You're on.
okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And thanks for having me, Gio. I'm super excited to be back at
Of
GWA.
course.
And this topic is really exciting. And I think we have a good crew going. We got to find that last spot, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I mean, as of right now, kind of what we're using is sales, CRM, and lead conversion strategies. And Jackie's going to moderate. So I'll kind of let you kind of jump into what you're thinking that's going to go like, because you're rounding it out ultimately. But we've got Chris Thomas, who is the sales director for Fuse. And then we have a new person too, who he was at Juicy, but he's newer, but he's with Deskworks. He goes by Moose, and it's Abbas. And he's an incredible salesperson. He's got a great sales background. And so,
Okay.
we've been trying to add one operator to that mix because we've got, I guess, two vendors, and I would guess you would call yourself a fractional CMO. Is that what would you
Yes, that's
call
what we're
these?
going with. Yeah.
Yeah. So really excited to have that mix, but I mean, kind of where is your head as far as that conversation goes? I mean, you're having all these great conversations with operators, and as you work with Jerome and Peter and everything else, but
Yeah.
thoughts?
I need to look at the guest list and who's going at this
Yeah.
point because it is coming up so quick. And I feel like it'd be a little bit more of a bigger ask to get somebody who wasn't planning on going. But I do have a few people in mind that I still need to like get a hold of. Did we think about asking Kevin? I'm just going to call it out right now.
Yeah.
Kevin
So
Whelan.
Kevin's on a different panel. So him,
Oh,
Taylor, and Ruben are
gotcha.
going to do their own marketing panel.
Awesome.
We were doing a co-warehousing panel, and we only had one. I guess he's a COO, and Andrew, who was a recent guest, Jamie. And then we had Emiliana with Elevator, who's been a guest here before too. But we were struggling to get a second and third operator in that co-warehousing that wanted to make the trip. So we replaced it with a pure marketing deal with those three. But
Pretty
yeah,
good.
you and I will jump on afterwards and kind of figure something out. But I mean,
Yeah.
I think the best thing to do is at this point just going through the attendee list and picking people or picking someone. But I like the overall diversity of the panel from from the vendor standpoint and operator standpoint. And so excited and it's Chris's first time on stage, and I think she's going to be
Oh,
awesome. And she'll have you to lead and guide her through that. But I've known her for a few years now, and she's really good. So really
awesome.
excited about that. In addition to that, we've got a couple panels on AI and operators and kind of what are they seeing and what's being done there.
Yeah,
So
you've got Peter on one of those, right?
yeah, Peter is running one of those, and he is essentially, I'm scrolling here so I can tell you exactly. So how our operators leverage AI, and he's got Katie Barraway with Office Evolution, Ben Von Draley with The Root, and
Mm,
then Peter, and then ultimately Oliver Easton Hughes, who is with Coho now, is going to moderate that conversation. And Coho's kind of made a big splash into the US. And so they're doing they've signed, I think, two or three different operators, and the Root's one of them. And so it'll be interesting to kind of hear, what's going on with overall how operators are using AI. And we call that version 2 because, and that's day 2. Day 1, we actually have Shift and Village Workspaces talking about how operators are using AI as a board of directors, which,
mm.
we've had the conversation with Gina before, but having Travis Lowe and what Shift is doing will be interesting.
Sounds
Okay,
great.
back to Jackie and marketing. Let's talk
Yes.
about things that are not going to be covered at the conference. What, Jackie, I'm curious. Well, I mean, you're sort of new to consulting. So, but
Yeah.
what is your sense that sort of operators are doing well and like what are the big gaps?
Oh, yeah. That's interesting. I think what is really hard for the smaller operators, what I'm finding is the owners being able to step away from the operations, right? And focus on owner things.
Yeah. Working
So,
on the business, not in the business, as they say, right? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And I think, in some markets, there's just like a really high turnover, for staff. And it's hard to get people who stick in the industry. It's really hard to, I think, incentivize folks, especially at the location manager level, if they don't maybe already have that hospitality background or they're not like a people person. You also need like a little bit of operations acumen. Like it's kind of like the unicorn, job, right? So I've noticed like me coming in as, a CMO or director of marketing role, I'm trying to bridge those gaps and I'm trying to kind of like cut off the owner from having to, sell from day to day or from having to go in and worry about, okay, is the staff being trained consistently? So I think, some I kind of noticed two paths, right? So there's the operators that are not really looking to expand, but they want to expand portions of their business. They want to maybe invest more in events. They want to invest more in meeting room revenue. They want to invest more in, their local community. Like for example, I was just in Seattle last week for Seattle Tech Week at ThinkSpace, and we had 21 events at the space, and over 2,000 people came through the space during that time. It was incredible, and like thinking like how can we replicate things like that for this community, because Seattle is just this huge tech hub. There's so many AI companies that are being born there. Like, Silicon Valley will always be, right, that business hub of the US, but Seattle is not to be ignored. It is a force of
Yeah.
nature. So I see that as one track. The other track is operators who are looking to expand, they're scaling, and all of a sudden they have all these great properties falling into their laps, right? Or they have all these great opportunities and you can't say no, right? When you get something like that. But maybe something that was working when you had 3 locations isn't working when you have, 7, 8, or 9. And when you get to that point, you're kind of like playing catch up and you're kind of backtracking because you're saying, "Oh no, like we're busy hiring staff because we can't keep people, engaged into these jobs, or we need to show them the great aspects of co-working." But I think the biggest advice like I could give is to really look at your processes, really look at what you're doing that isn't working, and don't try to grow from there. Like go into it and ruthlessly prioritize, and you have to be able to say, "Hey, this isn't working anymore," even if it's like a legacy tech stack you've been using forever. Don't be afraid to make that switch.
No
Yeah,
matter how painful, right? Yeah.
I was just gonna
Yeah.
say it's gonna be painful, but it's
Yeah.
so worth it. Like, I was so lucky when I joined Pack because they had just switched from Salesforce to HubSpot. Kim Seipel, she is a force of nature. Like, absolutely love Kim. She's
Kim
been
and
with
Becky are like the
yeah,
magic behind.
they are
Yeah.
like, yeah, and Brianna and Steph
Yeah.
and Keith, he started the VO business there. Like Keith is a force of nature. I can't say enough good things about Pack. But I was really lucky to come in the aftermath, right? But I came in and there was like I'm not saying like disgruntled, that is not the word. It was more of just like a little bit of like an unassuredness of like, hey, what's it gonna look like when we do the next big thing? Like, is it gonna be that hard? Or what can we expect from this new programming? So I think like with Pack, it was a unique situation where, I came into 18 locations and 18 managers and coordinators and like a pretty big staff of around, 55 in the company total. And I sat down with every single location manager and I had a target audience discussion, first of all, because it's so hyper local, the marketing. But then I just said, like, what do you need? Like, what do you need from us? What are you not getting that would just help you do your job better, that would help you feel better in your day to day. And they said, I would love to talk to my other managers. We're X miles away, and we email back and forth, but we feel like we're not really sharing ideas. We're not like taking that tribal knowledge and turning it into strategy and turning it into process. And so that's what I did. I implemented these monthly roundtables where we would all get on it and we would talk about a topic and we would just beat it to death. It'd be like community involvement, it would be HubSpot, it would be social media, it would be events, and I would let them pick the topics. Once a year, I would get on and be like, all right, everybody throw a topic at me that you absolutely, need to see happen. And if you can get your location managers, your community managers like dialed and gelled in, like that's really how your location's going to be successful. And that's when you can step away and you can do things like finding another location or injecting yourself into, for example, like Peter is so involved in the tech community in Seattle and he's so good at it. And he has just this approach of like helping tech communities be successful. And that's what he does in his space. And then Jerome has been expanding like crazy. Like Link Spaces went from 3 locations to 7. They're all really, really incredible. He's had some talks with, he's in LA. So there's all these big names down there, great companies that have thrown events at his space, have, taken up office space, are looking at expanding in big ways, asking him to co-run spaces together. There's just like so much opportunity there. But if you're caught up in the weeds of the day to day, like how can you really, look to that horizon, right?
So what is your talking about day to day? Like, what are you most passionate about and enjoy the most about affecting how the efficiency of a day goes for these clients slash owners?
Yeah, yeah. For me, it's growing the business, like seeing a real tangible impact. I think so much of marketing, it can be hard to track the ROI. It can be hard to see the real impact. And I try really to do my best to create systems and programs that will do that, where you can see the hard numbers, you can see the leads that are increasing, you can see the revenue going up, and then you can create forecasting, you can create reporting so you can take it back to your landlord and you can say, hey, look at we are successful. We are doing things with your money and your, physical asset. And then that allows you so much more flexibility and freedom that we can inject back into the staff to enable them to do their jobs better. Like I'm all about enabling people and empowering them to do their jobs with what they need from that day to day. Really, I like to focus on SEO and AEO. I think you can do a lot with your own like weight on your back and you don't need a giant budget to do that, especially with all these AI tools out there. Like you'll talk to Taylor, right, at GWA. He's incredible. Like you can 10x, maybe 20x your content output now with the right tools. And you can do it in a real human way.
And so we're gonna step back and talk about you personally. So personally, what are you passionate about? What do you love to do? Nature, hobbies, what are they?
Yeah, I love nature. I love to travel. I love hiking and rock climbing, paddleboarding. I just went to Idaho to visit my brother. We went out on the boat. I was, playing with his donkeys and his ponies. I'm a nature girl at heart. I grew up in a small town in rural Nevada. I was born in LA. We moved out here when I was a really young girl. I love the Reno area. It's full of small businesses. My family is Italian. Giovanni Pallavicini. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Pallavicini? Yeah. And so mine's Latragna. My family's from Sicily. We moved here about 100 years ago. Very poor, came into Rochester, New York, painters, shoemakers. My grandpa started his own business when my dad was a young boy. My brother has his own business. I have my own freelance business I've had for about 10 years. And that's just truly what I'm passionate about is supporting small businesses, supporting the entrepreneurs. And that's really like why I love living in Northern Nevada. It's what it's all about. There's not a lot of chains here. The people I went to college with all own like the bars and the restaurants and the this shop and the that shop. And, being in co-working, I feel that energy too. It's really great.
So you have the small town girl in common with Jamie.
Yeah.
She was uptown New York.
Oh, that's awesome.
She can
Whereabouts?
tell you about going back.
Oh, I mean, the right, wait, where did you said your ancestors, Rochester.
Mhm.
I also have Italian I mean, I married into an Italian last name, but I grew up between Syracuse and Binghamton.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
tiny
awesome.
town. Yeah, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
So donkeys.
The
Your brother
donkey.
has
We're
donkeys.
not gonna
He
talk
has a
about
donkey.
donkeys.
They're really cute. What can I say? I love a donkey.
They can be mean though, but their job is to protect the rest of the animals, and so
Wait,
it's
donkeys can be
always
mean?
interesting.
Huh.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
I didn't
they
know
are.
that.
They are the great
Yeah.
protector. Yeah, so it's a funny story. They bought a donkey probably 10 or 15 years ago, and when they bought her, they said, "Well, she may or may not be pregnant. We don't know." And then one day, 4 a.m., the neighbor's like, "There's a baby! There's a baby!" So that is this little baby. They've had him since he was born. His name's Blackjack, and he will let you cuddle him like a dog. Like he is the cutest thing, and I think it's because 'cause they've had him since he was a baby.
He's like a domesticated donkey from day one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they recently got a couple of mini ponies, which are funny little creatures. I don't know if you guys have ever played with the mini ponies, but they were coming up to check me out, and they're not the nicest. And Blackjack, the donkey, he just steps in between me and the ponies, like,
Oh,
no, like I'm not sure I want you to go to her because, like Gio said, the great protector.
so interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So, are you looking for additional assignments? Are you focused strictly on Peter and Jerome for now? Kind of what's your business plan? What is or whatever you're willing to share, right? Because I mean, obviously, you kind of stepped out here recently into this role. So, just
Yeah.
what is your ultimate goal?
Yeah, no, good question. Yeah, this opportunity kind of fell into my lap a few months ago, and it was just so great. I couldn't say no. I was so grateful to Pack for everything they've done. But for me personally, in the next couple years, I'm looking to start a family and just wanted to be able to have a little bit more flexibility, with life and being a mom. But for me, I am actually working on my website now. It should be up and running by Monday. I'm definitely open to other opportunities. I am still working outside of co-working. Like I said, I've been doing the freelance thing for about 10 years, and I have really long-standing clients. I've worked in real estate, I've worked with like crowdfunding, I've done probably anything under the sun. I've dabbled in it. But yeah, I'm absolutely open to working with other operators. I've talked to a few who might be interested in taking on some consulting, but nothing set in stone. So,
So, are you doing? I mean, so you're helping with Operator Weekend, coming to
Mhm.
GWA. Are you doing any
Yeah.
other? You mentioned you were just up in Seattle with Peter. I mean, kind of what other events are you getting involved in, and are you seeing?
That's it for now. I volunteered for the local TED chapter here in Reno for about 6 years. It was a huge passion of mine. I helped with the speaker preparation. So, Jocko Willink? He, yeah, he did a talk, and being able to see him in person, meet him before, hear his idea, watch it take shape and form. That to me is just so incredible. And sharing knowledge and sharing ideas we're spreading. So the TED chapter fell off. We got the license from one of my old professors. He was my mentor. And the gal who took it over, she recently had to move out of state. So I would really like to take that license over from her and bring TEDx Reno back. That would be
What's that
my
going to take?
ultimate goal. I'm not sure yet. I was kind of waiting for this transition for the dust to settle. But yeah, I'm going to reach out to her this fall and see if she still has the license, if she'd be willing to give it up, and that would really be the next big thing for me that I'd like to do.
Wow.
That's awesome. I love listening to those TED talks. Did you see? Do you know Javier Garcia with EOS down in
Yeah, I
Mexico?
do. Yes.
So he did a TED talk here recently in somewhere in Europe, of all places, and
Wow.
he did it in English.
That's awesome. I have to
Um,
check that out. I'm gonna write that down.
Let me find it. I'll send it to you. I can find it real
Yeah,
fast because it was. Oh, here it is. It
please.
was. I want to say like Poland or something crazy. I'm like, how did you end up in
Wow.
Poland of all places?
Only Javier.
Yes. That's
I'll
awesome.
send it to y'all here in a minute, but I'm trying to figure out where it was he spoke. But I was
Okay.
just like,
While he's looking that up, I have a couple of like in the weeds marketing questions for you.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned HubSpot, and one of
Mhm.
the things I see happen is small operators think HubSpot is a like, but in part, that's partly why I want to like mention it because I was like, oh, she said
Yeah.
HubSpot. Now everybody listening is going to be like, we should use HubSpot.
No. No, no,
Okay,
no.
yeah,
Don't do it.
tell me
Don't do it.
your
Yeah, HubSpot is extremely expensive,
yeah.
first of all,
And
and
by
it
that, it is like if you can get on it for free, no problem, upload all your
Sure.
contacts. As soon as you go to run like an automation, now it's $600,
Oh, yeah.
right? Like so it just
Yep.
escalates very quickly if you don't
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
100%. If you want certain reporting, which is like it's such a robust tool that I would say if you're like, 10 locations or less, you really don't need it. There's other CRMs out
10,
there.
you would say 10. Okay. I usually
Yeah.
say I'm like, I don't know, 3 to 5, but I
Oh,
know
but
I mean
um,
I work with a lot of operators too and I have
yeah.
a number of them who come in and they are on HubSpot. And I'm like, okay, that's project number 1. We're not using HubSpot anymore. Okay. And then
There's just so many
yeah,
tools out there that
yeah,
are so much better. And, there's tools now because AI is so prevalent and so many people are getting laid off from AI and they're starting companies. And these companies are amazing. Like they are taking everything that they know and learned from these big corporations. And then they're taking what they know on the ground level, which the corporations will never get,
yeah.
right? Because that's just tribal knowledge locked in their employees' heads. And so they're creating these amazing platforms. I had Chico Abangawe on Flock like last month, and he's incredible. He has all these platforms he's using for Perfect that I've never even heard of. Like his tech stack is like neither of you would have ever heard of what he's using. And they're super low cost, they're super efficient. They said, Chico, how did you learn about all this? He goes, oh, I just get on like Tech Hub or Geek Hub or whatever every morning and I read for like 30 minutes about what's coming on. And I think that's the best thing is like, if you're not really in the tech world, find someone who is, or find a blog that you can read or resources and just like do a little bit of research and don't just like sign up for a CRM because it's shiny. I am a big believer in reverse engineering. So think about your goals. Think about what do we want to achieve? How do we want to achieve it? What KPIs do we need to track? How are we going to get there? And then go backwards from that and type it all into your little AI assistant and it'll give you some options, right? Just like what does Samantha Reel say from Scaling Without Chaos? She says, just speak to your AI, turn on the little microphone and just blabbermouth at it everything that you want. Take all your notes from all your meetings, dump it in there. Your prompt can be a mile long and then it'll spit something back out at you and then do your research from there. But I think HubSpot, yeah, people hear that and they think, oh, that's the industry standard. I mean,
Totally. And they want to level up and they feel
yeah,
like that's what they should do next.
yeah,
Stay scrappy, right? Like I think that's
yeah,
kind of what you're saying. There's so many good tools that you can use. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Even
back to Chico real fast. Don't let Chico fool you. I mean, number one, he does do a lot of reading, a bunch of stuff, but that guy is always out of town at different conferences, learning from different people. And a lot of the tools he uses are not even co-working related. They're from the residential world or, used
staffing.
by some other completely different industry. And so he goes and he's constantly learning from other people. And if you don't follow him on Instagram, he does a great job
Yeah,
showing all his location, where he's staying everywhere he travels. He loves showing the Airbnbs and the hotels, and then people love him showing them everything he eats. Like when he goes out to restaurants, he says, "I stopped posting that, and people start texting me to start posting my food again." So
yeah.
it's always fun to follow him. And then the other thing he always posts is like all the previous posts and things he's written from previous years. And
Mm,
so he's been incredibly active. But, I
mm,
think that's one of the things that I think a lot of operators miss out on is learning from other people and not just within the industry, but outside of it. It still blows my mind how often I ask an operator, "Hey, have you been to the operator down the street or what are they doing? How are you different?" And they've never even walked in. Right? They haven't shopped them,
yeah.
they haven't toured the space, they have no idea. And so sometimes it's even that easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, Chico's like the influencer of co-working. I love it. I follow him too. And I think that's so important to point out, Gio, is like get in your local EO chapter, your entrepreneurs, organization. Go to your local tech week. go to your local TED chapter, like just immerse yourself in everything that you can. And that's what I love about marketing is because it's so diverse. Like you can really touch on any industry and the lesson is different but the same, if that makes sense. And if there are any marketers on this call who are looking for a really good new book to learn, I just went to this guy's talk last week. His name is Jim Huffman, and he just released a book called The 7 Laws of Scaling. And even owners and operators could absolutely learn from this book. He teaches you the laws and he gives you a way to grade yourself, and then he gives you actionable items on how to improve. So if you're looking to grow, I would highly recommend checking that out.
I I want to double click on the get engaged in your community, kind of back to your comment about getting owners sort of like I think there's a challenge for a lot of owners and teams, which is like the owner spending too much time in the business and then they don't have the systems in place to like allow the team to get out into the community. Like they're so internally focused and serving members. I also think from a marketing perspective, I think I used to be this way. Like it's so hard to measure like what's the impact of being out in the community, but I think it's one of those things the more I observe that it is hard to measure, but it matters, for a lot of reasons, direct and indirect, and having the relationships with the community and pulling people into your space, like 2,000 people, coming through ThinkSpace. Not everybody can pull that off. That's unique maybe to that situation, but at a different scale.
Got it.
So I think, right, some of the, what you talked about, sort of like how do the owners sort of get so they can do it or enabling the team to step away from the front desk is so I get it. I totally get it. I operated for 8 years. I get how hard it is, but
Yeah.
it is so critical. I would encourage people to think about, yeah, how to do more of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And don't get in your own way, right? So like if you're like, "Oh, I couldn't get 2,000 people in my space." Well, that's okay. Maybe you don't need to. Maybe you need to get 50 or 100, right? And maybe it's something as simple as opening up to like, for example, at PAC, there's a location in Santa Cruz. And Santa Cruz is pretty remote from the rest of the Bay Area. The location manager there, he is like the man about town. Like Harlan is so cool. He goes to every business, knocks on the door and says, "Hi, I'm Harlan. This is what we do. If you want to have an event in our space, we'd love to have you." And there's this local women's group that has been meeting there for like the past year. And that he says they come in the evenings. He's like, you wouldn't even know they were there. They clean up. They're so polite. They're so mindful of the other guests. Like, da da da. So it's just about finding your niche. It's finding about who your space can serve. And, that's, I think, what also separates like the smaller operators from the bigger brand names too, is like they're more focused on the P&L. They're more focused on, other things. And you have that opportunity to be a community hub, not just for members, but for other small businesses in the area or small groups or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think that's such a big part that people miss out on, right? Is I've always said the people that fail in this business is for two reasons. One, they're really good at building community and forget you got to make money, right? And so they're really focused on giving back and being a incredible conduit for the community, but they forget I've got to make money, right? And then the other one is people that are really good at making money, but are not very good at the hospitality and community portion. And so I think that's, and a lot of times I hate to say it, there's not a whole lot of people that intermingle those, right? It's almost like they're different skill sets and different parts of your brain. And so sometimes having Laurent and a Scott who are very different in how they think, how they act, having them work together makes a big difference, right? And I think that's even where having someone like you step in and help a Jerome or a Peter, or having Jamie step in and help some people she gets to help, is you're able to see blind spots or things that they don't. And so I think that's the exciting part when you bring in people from outside. I call it the snow globe, right? When you're in the middle of the snow globe, it's hard to see. When you have people come in that surround you, they can look in and be like, "Oh, hey, did you think about this? Or did you do this? Or I saw this somewhere else, or someone else is doing this." I mean, that's really where, in my opinion, consultants or, outside vendors are able to help out.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
I love the snow globe analogy.
Yeah, and I think like I'm still kind of bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, in a way. And I think that that's really good because I come in and I see past the hurdles and I see the opportunity, right? And that's where I want to focus because the hurdles are still there, but if you go towards it, you will find a way not around the hurdles but through them, right? And you can almost, like you said, when you have two people in a room that disagree, to me that leads to innovation. That
Yep.
leads to new ideas and, things that maybe just haven't even been done in co-working before because we are still a pretty new industry. We're still really small. I told my boyfriend the other day, I was like, co-working's only 2%, 2 or 3% of commercial real estate. And he was like, what? He was shocked by that because, to him, I think that world is much bigger because he hears me talk about it all the time. But explaining it to people outside of our industry, it's hard. And the same time, that means there's opportunity for us to still like kind of decide who we want to be when we grow up. If that makes sense.
And and you made a really good point to me. And there's not a whole lot of people that are comfortable with it, but friction and tension are needed and huge for growth, right? I mean, for all of us personally and professionally, right, is we need to have the challenge. We need to have the hard conversations in so many capacities, right? And so that's what I love about putting some of these panels together is putting two people on a stage that I'm going, oh, this is going to be good because they're going to look at things I mean, back to the Yardi and JLL, the way they're approaching data is very different how Scott and Will approach it and the data they have. And so I'm excited to have those types of conversations. And Jamie, if you don't have another question, I've got the last question since I know you got a
Yep, do it because
podcast coming up.
yeah, very last.
So if you look back, what was the most defining moment in your life that made you start being so passionate about people?
Oh, I think for me, I went through something really unique when I was younger. So I was like a straight A student in school. I was valedictorian. I got a 31 on the ACT out of 32, and I got into all the best schools in SoCal. And I was ready to move, and I was 17. I graduated a year early. And that summer, I was jet skiing with a friend of mine. I fell off, which is not a big deal, but I hit my leg and I got this bruise. It never went away and went to the doctor, pediatrician. We were 17, so embarrassing. And they started doing some tests and found out I had an autoimmune disease. And that completely changed the trajectory of my life. I no longer moved to SoCal. I went to University of Nevada, which at the time, it was kind of like grew up in a small rural town. You go to the local university, it's like, oh, you're a loser, which is not the case at all. But that was my perception. And it was, I've worked so hard for what? And I really had to like look in myself and say, like, what am I doing? Like, what am I really about? And I, dealt with that disease for about 3 years. I went through 4 rounds of chemotherapy and I went into remission when I was 20 years old. So I've been in remission for 15 years, which is like amazing. Love my doctor. And that, like, I grew up a lot in that moment. And I kind of said, okay, what are you going to do with your life? Like, what's your legacy going to be? Is it going to be you didn't get your way? Or is it going to be you're going to make something out of what you're given? And that's just been my attitude ever since then is like, I just want to give people that same energy of like, yeah, maybe something will happen that's unexpected, but you're going to get through it and it's going to make you better at the end of the day.
That's awesome. Well, really appreciate you joining us. Can't wait to see you in a couple weeks. And the best of luck as you prepare for Operator Weekend. And then super excited to have you at GWA. And I'll reach out to you so we can finalize that last spot. But again, thanks for joining us and
Thank you
so
guys.
much luck on this new chapter that you're in as the fractional CMO consulting roles.
Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure. Can't wait to see you guys in a month. Take
All
care.
right, take
Likewise.
care.
Thanks,
Bye.
Jackie.
Bye.